Welcome to the podcast Of Course They Make Me Crazy. It's about crazy family stories. We all have one, right? More importantly, it's for those of you living with someone who suffers with a mental illness. You can start to feel lost in their world. Now, I get it. I grew up with a bipolar mom addicted to pain pills. Hoping the stories shared here will help you through difficult days. It's not all serious. We laugh and joke too. If you have little ones around, hop in your headphones. Adults only, please. Happy New Year! Thank you so much for joining me on Of Course They Make Me Crazy. I'm April, the host. Woo! 2020! See ya, huh? How do you feel now that it's behind us? Oh, I know, we're all feeling relieved. But we can't fool ourselves. Things are going to carry on over. You know it. But I really do think that we're better equipped to handle hard things because of it, right? Don't you feel that way, that we're all better equipped some way or another? We have that on our side at least. Got the vaccinations coming, thankfully. Yeah, we're moving and grooving and moving on forward. No reason to look behind. But it was a hard year. So I'm going to look behind just for that quick second and say, damn, it was hard. But I think it was a big wake-up call that we needed to at least learn to appreciate what we have, because it's not always guaranteed, right? Or appreciate what we didn't have before it, because it's not always guaranteed. I think that has been, instilled in us, which is a total positive. But, another thing in positive, I know it was just sucked. I know there was a lot of bad down times. But flipping through Instagram and seeing some of the funny graphics, I love flipping through there and seeing something funny. It, makes me giggle and feels good to laugh. So there was this graphic and it said, what did COVID give or do for you? And someone wrote on there, it gave me a fat ass and a zitty face. And to make it even worse, it also gave me a fat face and a zitty ass. I was like, oh, no winners there. But hey, those are both real struggles. So I feel for that person. That ain't fun. Well, for me, though, I started this podcast while I was furloughed during the first shutdown because of COVID. My first episode uploaded on June 12th, 2020, and I am so grateful that I was able to have that time to start this, to, really get to know some of you and to basically talk out my problems. And I feel like just talking them out and then hearing yours too, it just helps me heal. When I hear other people's stories and how they deal and how they've dealt with it, that is what heals me. And so that is why I'm on this path, hopefully with you. Hopefully this podcast and hearing some of these stories either makes you laugh. I know some of them are major cringeworthy, but I also hope that they help inform you and give you some kind of value in your life. And truthfully, I wish I had more time to spend on it, because I do work a full-time job and I have other responsibilities. Adulting, it's just no fun, right? It's just no fun. Hate to adult. But I started thinking about pausing this podcast for a bit because I'm in the process of designing a website. Well, I should say I tried. I sat there for hours. I was like, I'm going to figure this thing out. WordPress, you are not smarter than me. Well, guess what? It won. I caved, and I'm getting someone to do that. So that's in the process. So I'm pretty excited about that. Good things to come there, and I sure hope you check it out. And starting a Facebook group, private Facebook group page. So email me at ofcoursetheymакemecrazy@gmail.com if you want to get in on that. And it's just going to be a safe place where we can vent, where we can help each other, where we can tell stories and just create a community. So, anywho, moving on. I just need more time, to learn more things and learn new equipment. And I just started to feel overwhelmed with everything. Life is, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. It's just some days, can I take one more thing? Yes, we can. But do we want to? No. So I was reading something, or you know what? I was probably listening to a podcast because I listen to Ed Mylett religiously. Like, he is my dude. And I think he had somebody on there that said, "What's your why?" And I was like, oh, hell, I hate that question. What's your why? I find that question to be so freaking annoying, because the next thing they always say after that is, you must know your why before you do anything else. Like, don't move, freeze. If you don't know your why, then you're a loser. No, that's not what they say. But that's what kind of makes you feel a little bit. And if you do know your why, well, you're free to go, you overachiever. That's just me. That's just the way I've always felt about it. And I do know my why. But then that's the funny thing, is I do know my why and have for a long time. But this podcast isn't going to be about my why. This episode is going to be about my why. It's going to bring me back. And you're probably thinking, well, what the hell do I need to know about your why for, April? Well, you don't. I know. But if you listen to this podcast, you know I already know my why, and I have for a long time. But I want you to know your why. Ask yourself that question. Now, I'm the one being annoying. I know. But come on. Ask yourself, why do you do the things you do? Why do I do the things I do? And get a pad of paper, a pen, and just start writing. Don't even think about what you're writing about. Just write. Start with your name. Start with your first and last name. Start with your family members' names. Start with your coworkers' names. Just start writing, and it will start to spill out. And I like to do that because then a couple of weeks later, I go back and I read it. And I think, oh, yes, that makes so much sense. But at the time, I never go back and I never read it right away because it's too in it. I'm too in it, to really engulf it or to swallow it or to marinate on it. So I go back and I read it. And I say this because the other night I was laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and contemplating pausing this podcast so I can catch my breath. And then my why popped in my head. But then so did another thing that person said. And I normally listen to Ed Mylett on my way to work. So I probably was listening to him in the morning. I was laying in bed at night. And that person said to write your why to your avatar person. And then I was like, oh, hell, what is an avatar person? And truthfully, this tugged on me all day. So first thing I had to do was look up what avatar meant. Do you know what avatar meant? I didn't know what it meant. I know that there's a super duper cool movie named Avatar, but I didn't really know what it meant. And maybe it's been years since I've watched that movie. So you're probably thinking you're a dumbass because that's what the movie's about and that's what they portray. But I forgot. I haven't seen it in years. So I read Avatar is a figure representing a person. And that person doing the podcast, I can't remember what that person's name is, but that haunted me all day. That person said to make someone up that is your avatar. Like, who will benefit from your why? Talk to that person and make that person your avatar person. And I was like, oh my God, that's like having to figure out who my ideal client is. And I know this podcast isn't, client-based thing, but that's hard sometimes. If you own a business or you do something similar, then you get it. Like, who is the person you're going after? Who's the person that you want to help the most? And speaking of that, Ed Mylett is a big sayer for when you feel stuck in your life, when you feel miserable or lost, the first thing you should do is help someone else, because that is what's going to make you feel unstuck. When you start to help someone else, you are helping yourself. And I am a true believer in that. So I started kind of toying with this avatar person, and I felt a little stressed about it. And I'm like, April, don't worry about it. Just forget it. Like don't even, you got enough things to worry about. Don't try to figure out your avatar person. But then I thought, no, I'm not going out that easy. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I made it up, and I'm going to speak to her during this episode for a little bit. Thought this would be a great way for me to start off the new year. And truthfully, it's what stopped me from not giving up on this podcast. Because I'm tired, y'all. And I know you are too. And I don't want to give up. And so I had to pull myself up by the bootstraps and smack myself on the ass and say, get going. Giddy up, girl. So here goes my why. Now, before I start this, so you might be listening to this episode and think, April, I'm nothing like your avatar. But please don't get hung up on that, because if you've been listening to me for a little bit, this podcast is a whole big bag of mixed nuts. And I might be a little bag of mixed nuts. God knows I'm nuts. That's for sure. But full disclosure, my avatar is going to be me in my 20s. So it's going to be me talking to my younger self. I'm in my mid-40s now, but I look like I'm in my 20s. I'm just shitting with you. I don't. The reason why this is only audio is because I just had eyelid surgery. Upper bleph is what they call it. I felt like my lids were a little too heavy. Y'all do not want to see me. But if you do, you can jump on my Instagram page. And of course, they make me crazy. And I got ballsy with a little bubbly a couple of days after New Year's and decided to show my face barefaced, bruised up. I got stitches. It ain't pretty. But if you want to see it, you can. And then also, I'll have a diary on the whole process just in case it's something that you've been wanting to get to. When you're, more than mid-40s, plastic surgery, it's your best friend if you're into it. And girl, I'm into it. So, okay. So I'm going to introduce my avatar under a different name in just a few minutes. But here's the thing. So I can better serve you as a listener. This is important to me. Reach out to me. Let me know what you would like to hear about. Tell me a little bit about yourself and why you listen and what I can do in my capacity to teach or to enlighten you. My why is building a community for all of us. So we have a place to laugh, so we can learn, and so we can vent together. And that's why I decided to do that private Facebook group. And I sure hope you join that. And let's just start venting and telling stories to each other. So I really hope you get in on that. But okay, so there's more to my why. Of course, they make me crazy is for those of you who live and love someone with a mental illness. You probably heard that in the introduction. And that is also, of course, about crazy family stories because we all have one. And dang, I am hoping I get to hear some of yours in 2021. Come on, people. Let's talk about it. Where's my phone? I want to tell you this. And it doesn't have to be crazy family stories. It can be just funny stories. Like, for example, I posted something on Instagram Oh, it was about the episode of me doing spring break in my 20s with my naked nudist grandfather. So if you missed that episode, you got to listen to that. It's totally cringe-worthy. But one of my Instagram buddies popped on, and she started to explain that her grandfather was always very, very conservative. She called him Gran. And she said he never, ever, ever said anything crude. And she said she was about 13 years old, and she wasn't sure if she would mention that his zipper is down, but it was down. And she's like, okay. So I told her, Grant, your zipper's down. And she said in his deep Southern Kentucky accent, he said to her, if the horse can't get up, it can't get out of the barn. I thought that was so cute. I loved that she shared that. Just like little things like that make me laugh, and I hope they make you laugh too. And she's like, I didn't even know what the hell it meant, but her parents did, and they were cracking up, and to this day they still laugh about it. But I love that. If the horse can't get up, it can't get out of the barn. So anyways, okay, so I would just love to hear, like, even if it's in the private Facebook group and, you know, you're just telling little funny quickies like that. Oh, I would so much appreciate that. And I know other people would too. I just think it's so fun. Our grandmas and grandpas, they're the best when it comes to stories. Okay, so my why also, though, started out wanting to tell you about my mom's story. Her name's Joni, and she grew up dealing with some pretty crazy situations, a lot of crazy shit. And if you've been listening, you know some of them. But she had me at 15 and a half years old, and then had my brother nearly a year later. And she worked cleaning truck stops to feed us, and she was diagnosed with bipolar when I think she was about 30 years old. But actually, I think that's when she started to act out. I don't think that she was really professionally diagnosed for several years later. But she started to have mood swings. She was opening up credit cards galore, going shopping on shopping sprees, and then hiding the bills. Man, she would stuff those bills under the bed. She'd run out to the mailbox before my dad got to work and make sure she got them, and then she'd hide them. But, you know, bill collectors, they start to call. And she was just taking a shit ton of pills. She had this whack-a-doodle doctor who would give her anything under the sun. And she was taking it. So she was addicted, for sure. And my why is to tell her story, but also my story, and how we maneuvered our ever-changing relationship. So my hope is that hearing my stories and other stories, your stories, that are shared on this podcast will help things feel a little less scary for you. You know, it's scary loving someone who has an illness and they don't know how to control it properly. And you don't either. You're on freaking pins and needles because you don't know what they're going to do next. Now, I know that there is a lot of you out there that can live a normal, healthy life with an illness because you know balance. You've taken control of it. And I am so happy for that. And God, I wish that was the case for my mom. But it wasn't. And that affected myself and my entire family. And yeah, it's been something so much so that I created this, right? So you just never know. You live on edge, and if you're living that way, I'm so sorry. And I understand what you're going through. It is hard as hell. So, I'm going to start introducing my avatar to you, okay? So her name is Simone, because I just think that's a super pretty name. And I'm going to make her 22 years old. She's working 2 jobs while going to school full time. And Simone wants so much to believe that life isn't always going to be this hard. And she whispers to herself, get up, you have class. Just make sure you get your education because that's one thing no one can take from you. Simone's mom dropped out of high school to raise her and her brother, and Simone fears that she's going to end up like her mom, who is always broke. Simone dreams of having an amazing career so she doesn't have to worry about money and is able to give her mom anything that she wants. She thinks maybe, just maybe, Mom will get better if she doesn't have to worry so much. Maybe I can help fix her. Simone's empathy, get this though, then turns into anger when she realizes nothing is going to make her mom better. Her mom has a great husband who provides for her. She has a nice home and she has kids who love her. So then Simone starts to think, damn, man, why is she so selfish? Why does Mom always live in the past? And why do we have to pay for what the past did? Why aren't we enough to make her stop abusing herself and all those pills? Simone's feelings flip-flop from anger to hate to love to frustration and confusion. She struggles with the guilt and the heartache she feels. She feels guilty for wishing her mom would just die if that is what her mom wants to do, because it certainly feels like that's what she wants to do. It seems like she's just killing herself anyway. So, that's my avatar. That's who I'm talking to for this podcast, for every episode pretty much. My older self would say to Simone, stop feeling guilty for having true feelings. Stop trying to think you can fix someone because you can't. You can be there for them, but fixing has got to be something that they do. That has always and will always be a struggle for me, but I'm working on it. Guilt would ride me hard about that. Most importantly, Simone, it is going to be okay. There will come a day when it's all okay. There will come a day when it's all okay. Deep breath in. Yes, there will come a day when it is all okay. You know, just try to have as many good days for the both of you so you have something amazing to hold on to. No matter how pissed you are, tell him, tell her you love them. Because if you don't, you're going to regret it. That is, and this is for the Simones out there. That's why I do this podcast. And it's for me, it's for you, and it's for the love I have for my mom. Now, even though I focus a lot on her illness and the hardships it caused, she really was, you guys, the most amazing mom when she was capable. When she was capable. She passed away almost 4 years ago. And, you know, we're capable of so many things when we let go of anger and guilt. We are. Can you hear my dog barking in the background? Oh, good God. But, you know, I think my mom had so much pent up inside her from her past that it ignited her illness. I was reading something. The wellness icon, Deepak Chopra. I always have a hard time pronouncing his name. God, I love that man. But he says emotional traumas are the beginning of disease. And it goes back to early childhood memories. Can it be corrected? Yeah, of course. But not if you're holding on to them. And don't let that happen to you. My mom held on and nothing good came of it. I'm sure she did what she could. So this is what I hope for you. Let's make 2021 a year of freeing ourselves from the negative things we hold on to and the stories that we used to think defined us. Because they don't. Come on! Let's make a community. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have an amazing week, an amazing year. I got some goodies lined up for you, and I will talk with you next time. Those of us living with people suffering from a mental illness have a lot to deal with too. They're not the only ones hurting. We hurt with them. Having a supportive community is so important to your health. Would love to hear your story too. Email, of course they make me crazy, @gmail.com.